Sveiki, netrukus pradėsime. Hi, we're gonna start shortly. Hi, we're gonna start our show shortly. Give us a couple moments for the other people to join, and I will be with you in just a moment. Okay, I hope everybody is doing great this morning. Hello and welcome joining us at RepSense. We're gonna start our webinar about how reputations lives in the search box and how can you improve it. My name is Domas. I'm going to be your host today this Wednesday and hopefully every other Wednesday. We're going to have some live shows on what are the next steps you can take in improving your online reputation. I am in search marketing business for over 10 years and this is not so closely related with public relations activities, but we're always rubbing shoulders. And I'm really glad to be speaking here today on behalf of RepSense. To show the new technology that is actually going to disrupt the industry of public relations and how this is all connected to search engine optimization. So I want to start with something RepSense is doing and just give you a short introduction how difficult the processes are. But to calculate a reputation index, there is so much data points that needs to be analyzed. And we estimate that with every run it's over 7.5 million data points that needs to be analyzed to give you the reputation index. So just to give you a brief understanding, let's say you want to look at the 5 regions where your brand is competing and you have at least 2 or 3 competitors in every of the regions. You might want to be looking at several profiles of your stakeholders, like let's say how your employees look at you, how your investors are looking at you, what's the reputation of a CEO and how he's mentioned on the media. So with every profile we'll probably have at least 3 keywords connecting to your product or your brand or the way people are searching for you, let's say a career, salary and so on. So to analyze that, we're going to look at the first 20 search results in Google, first 2 pages, and we're going to scan all of these results to get the data collection where we're gonna have at least 50 different parameters that we're looking in these search results to analyze how your brand or your reputation is performing here, whether your brand gets mentioned in the title of an article, and whether your CEO is mentioned more than one time in the article, and also the the incentive how the brand is mentioned. You know, whether you are mentioned in a good light or not a very good light, not maybe a positive light, and maybe the whole article is just very neutral. So to analyze that, we've calculated how long does it take to for a person to do the job for you. And that's just to analyze one data point. If you calculate 1 second to do that, and I'm sure like nobody's really capable of making a decision that fast, but let's say we're superhumans, so it's about 2 weeks to get the job done by a human person analyzing one data point for 1 second. And maybe that's why we are running those bi-weekly data collections, that at least you have 2 weeks to understand what's happening from here until your next run. So I want to give you this brief introduction. I'm sure we're gonna be coming back to this represents index and how it's calculated. But just to go further with my presentation, I want to start with a main idea of our today's show. And as it was mentioned in the whole title of the event, I want to ask you a question, whether you agree that the search of your brand, or maybe your client's brand, since most of you are coming from the agencies, live in the search box. I know there is a chat opportunity. You can smash the chat button and leave your comments there, and hopefully we will be coming back to these with the questions at the end of the event. So, media monitoring is not something new. You know, we've been doing this for ages, especially in the public relations business. And for me, coming from performance marketing business, the importance of metrics has always been the key of how we run campaigns, how we evaluate the performance of these campaigns, and how we measure the result or the investment result of the money that we spend on the media. So for me, it was kind of shocking to come to the area of public relations and understand that most of the companies, they don't really properly track what is their online reputation, especially on a media that's called Google search. You know, we have all these monitoring tools that they can see how many times you've got mentioned on this website, or maybe newspaper, TV show, or magazine. But you know, the noise that's happening currently, that when you are telling a story, or maybe there's an accident happening, or some disaster that your brand gets mentioned, hopefully none of them get done. What we are measuring here is what stays on Google search results after the events happened. So do you have a proper way how to track it and evaluate, and also to calculate how your brand is representative, you know, what kind of reputation you have in the search results? And I want to start with a research done by the Annenberg University, where it kind of shows the trends of what's the future of public relations. And of course, we know all of these popular keywords that's been with us for quite a few years now. We're looking at behavioral research, or behavioral data, how people are interacting with our content, also to social listening, what people are saying about us, the digital storytelling. You know, what is a digital storytelling? I think everything is a digital storytelling, and nothing can be a digital storytelling as well. And also, how do we look into the big data? How do we get the information from the big data and then use it to make business performance decisions? So these are the trends, but what happens with our reputation is mostly connected with the memory. To have a good reputation means that you have to have something to be remembered for, something that you've done in the let's say not so late ago. Maybe it's an achievement, maybe a good deed, or maybe a bad one that gets connected to you, and unfortunately, we don't remember everything. Our memories get fragmented, and we cannot really connect what the memory was. But just I want us all to agree on the topic that memory plays a pivotal role in the shaping our reputation. And when you have a positive interaction with a brand, you are more likely to remember it in a good way and also share your experience. And similarly with the negative experiences, they get stored in the memory as a harm, and it can harm the brand's reputation as well. And what's also likely these days with the power of social media, that negative experiences get shared much more often than the positive ones, which hopefully with the society changing, this is going to be improving more, and we're going to be more in the self-aware and positive life. But our memories are fragmented, making it very hard to recall the information source, where it's coming from. And so often I get a friend of mine telling me a story that maybe a couple months ago I've already told him, and it's like, voila, did you hear it from me? So it's becoming difficult for the brain to organize and store information with the amounts of information that we have to consume. And forgetfulness plays a crucial role here as well. It can be in a way also good for a company of a brand, that maybe people will forget a mishap that you occurred. But just to have these constant good memories, what brands need to do is they must consistently deliver a good experience to their clients to maintain this good reputation. So since we are so much impacted with the memory and forgetfulness, I think a very good story here is about Daniel Wegner, who suggested the theory of transactive memory, which in a way analyzed that a group of people with their collective memory has more knowledge than one person itself. And of course this was before the internet was such a big thing, but then he adapted his whole idea, and to say that social media become like a collective memory bank, where good memory is stored and shared, while the bad ones are also becoming a part of your history and also a part of your brand reputation. Probably I'll show you nothing new with this peso model, or the model that most of us are using with, you have to have your own media, which is something that will be your website, your newsletter, maybe a blog, and also your earned media, that your relationship with journalists and analysts, and something that goes outside of your own websites. Eventually it might become a shared media if it's a content that can become viral, or maybe someone's picking up and writing a comment about it. And then some of the media needs to be bought. So it's your paid media, all the Facebook advertising and Google advertising, brand advertising that's been happening. But to get attention in this fragmented media is very difficult. And I remember the older days when the Saturday's newspaper was the main source of information. If it was in the Saturday's newspaper, everybody knew it. Well, fortunately, none of us really have this one source of information anymore. And with the emerging zero trust society, that's becoming much more harder to trust the information sources. So we try to do our own research. We try to look at all the different sources and get our information from various platforms. And that's why it's becoming very hard to find the difference between the noise that's happening around you and the actual signal that the brand is sending. And in this slide I have a couple screenshots from our tool already, where you can see some analysis of where our platform is analyzing not only the noise that is being happening, but what stays in the content of Google search results, and also adding to it RSI indexes, reputation sense index, to tell you what's the sentiment of this content. But we're gonna come back to this tool furthermore. I want to come back to the peso model and tell you, although it's a traditional and very much used model, we are trying to change the topic a little bit to help you understand that, you know, when you are sending all this noise that's happening in the market, let's say you want to take the story, you want to dominate the topic, what happens after that? And, you know, how do you measure the impact of that noise that media is making? And most likely, you know, what I would do now, I would go online and make a search. Just open a search result page, enter a query that gets connected to the information that I received from the noise, and what do I find? And as a strategic marketer, you might be already a step ahead, putting a certain signal in that place. When somebody is searching for a particular search query, they already find you. And you know, most of you probably have been in the situation where you get this shady email and you're not really sure what this email is about. Is it a scam, or maybe this is a not? And then you try to put their name in the Google search result, and suddenly all of the results end up being nice and good, and you know, and then they look like they are trustworthy, but eventually you understand that this is not how it was expected. So if you take a keyword that has a very low search volume, and then you put a signal with that keyword that kind of puts you in the information bubble where it tells you that it's a trustworthy source, you know, not always this signal can be the correct one. But the companies who are sending, not preparing to to place a signal there so they can be found when the potential buyers or stakeholders are searching for them, these are the ones that are not making the correct choice. So what I'm trying to achieve here is that we understand that we can distinguish two parts, the noise and the signal. And the noise is going to be something that's happening in all the platforms in the peso model, like your own, paid, or shared media. But what do the people find when they search for your company and your brand? And asking quite a few companies, you know, are you able to monitor? Are you able to influence what's happening there? A lot of people leave it to the Google's algorithm to make a decision who is the worthy to be in that search results. But you know, especially us, and I understand that most of the audience here is coming from digital marketing agencies and performance marketing agencies like me. You know that, you know, with SERP engineering and some SEO tricks, you can be where you want to be, you know, on the search results, not only if it's a paid advertising position. So when we try to measure the interest of the potential audiences that we want to reach, we can look at several metrics that are important to us. And one of them is a share of search. You know, when somebody is looking for you, or you at least a bigger part of the pie of the people searching for your company, your brand, comes to your page, that's already a good result, and also a very reactive metric that shows not only the impact of your communication activities, but also how it stimulates the potential audience to look for you, look for your brand, look for your product, and come to your pages or different other platforms. What also is important to look at how you display it in your discovery mode, when people are looking for a particular category or a product in that category, but not looking for your brand. So, and for both of these areas, we have a solution that's a part of the platform on RepSense app that shows what's your reputation index on your discovery mode, how are you positioned in the market comparing to your competitors, and also what part of the search that's happening on the internet is directing to your platform. So now when we talk about signal, we also have to measure the quality of signal. And the quality is always, you know, a way to of understanding how different factors interact with each other, and usually for different country, this reputation might be different. So currently we're analyzing over 80 different factors to tell you how to calculate this RSI index and to show you how you are performing in this case. But who wants to look at the metrics and statistics? You know, I know so many people working with Google Analytics, and you know, it's a common tool. Usually everybody has it for their website, but when you ask them how often you are using this, you know, it's not that often as you think. So we want to take it one step further, and not to give you just a pile of data and numbers to go through, but we want to give you some insights that you can react on, the actionable insights on what's next to be done to improve those situations. And these insights can be, let's say, you know, there's the part of the content that's getting momentum on the internet that is connected to your brand, and you know, you might want to look at it. Maybe it's a positive, in a positive or negative light, and it can impact your business eventually. Or maybe you get mentioned in some article that you never knew got published. So Represents Index and Represents Insights are another two parts of the platform that we are presenting here today. So I'm going to do a short stop here and switch to another presentation, and I take a sip of water and hope everybody's doing all right, and write a comment if you want to have it slower or faster. Okay, give me a moment. Okay, and I think we are live already. So I'm just gonna check with my team if everything is all right. Can you see the talking head in the video? Okay, seems we're doing fine. Okay, so let's continue and use this time wisely. And I want to delve into one of our of the metrics that we are calculating here at Represents. That's also part of our tool, and it's a share of search. As I already discussed in the previous part, share of search is one of the important metrics that can show the performance of your public relations and marketing activities. But what I want to do in this part, I want to show you that this is the most sexy performance metrics that you never heard of. So let's continue. As I told you before, you know, our main product that we're doing here is calculating reputation index, which means by analyzing the search results of on Google, we look at the brands and their brand competitors and try to give a quantitative data or the index that shows how your reputation is performing comparing to another client. And usually this is a new metric that everybody's talking that everybody asks us about, you know, who else is using it. And so I want to start with a little icebreaker, and then this story from marketunists. You know, when so many times I've been in marketing meetings, usually it's a meeting that happening after a part of campaign has been launched, maybe the campaign has already been finished, and you know, when you ask an agency how you were performing, are you doing well, and you know, you get all this nice data, all the awesomeness metrics that's coming up, and your cool factor metric, maybe smiley metric, and so on and so on. And aren't you tired, especially from the client side, that you get these numbers that not necessarily you understand, and maybe sometimes they have been far too long to ask now what they mean. And in some of the cases, these bombastic names don't really actually show the something that should be there. So I want to go through a couple of very popular brand awareness metrics that are very popular in the industry, which is share of search, market share, and share of voice. And to go through these metrics and to analyze them, also my objective here is to show you how all of these metrics are very much connected to share of search as the most reactive metric that shows the impact of all your public relations and marketing activities. So, market share. How do you calculate market share? Usually, this is the number of sales that happening on the market divided by total sales on that market. But when you take this metric into the online business or public relations, you can also say that maybe your market share can be in a particular period, or it can be in a particular country. And this method has some flaws. It's generally very hard to get the very precise data, and also some of that data comes pretty late. So let's see, you had some marketing activities or public relation campaigns that was happening last month. You're looking at the sales numbers, which takes another couple of weeks to gather, and then now you understand that the campaign you've been doing, the impact of that campaign maybe was not as good, but that's already a quarter past. So so it's a good metric, but it takes some time to get the numbers from it. Another metric that's very important and quite commonly used is a share of voice. So when I look at the description of share of voice, I found that, like on Wikipedia, they're saying that it measures a percentage of media spent by a company compared to the total media expenditure of the product and service in the category in the market. And it's a popular metric, but oddly enough, it doesn't really mean anything, or rather, it means several different things. It started as an early advertising metric when brands were focused on buying more space in the printed media, and when the advertisement amount was so big, and they started limiting the amount of space that was devoted to the ads. So eventually, it became the scarcity effect of that was also a part of the price that you had to pay to be in that media. So HubSpot defines this as a marketing metric that allows you to compare brand awareness on different marketing channels against your competitors. And also this is a right description. But the share of voice is always connected to some area that you are communicating in. So let's say you're in a media which is Google search. What would be the metric that shows a share of your search results that are connected to you? Let's not jump to the conclusions now. I'm just going to go there very fast with our presentation. Another very important metric when you talk about share of voice is and market share is a brand recall. When brand recall is an important metric that shows how people understand the impact of your communication. Let's say, what is a brand recall? Let's say you've been running some ads, and then you have a focus group, and you ask them, if in this industry, let's say when you want to buy an insurance, who will be the insurance company that you saw in advertising recently that maybe you're going to make a decision based on. So brand recall will be a very important metric here that's so connected to the share of voice of what's happening on the market. But I want to show you research that's done by Kantar, to show you how share of voice influences your share of search and also your market share. Let's just jump into some of these graphs. Okay, so we are looking at the brand A, and this brand A was investing into growing their share of voice. Normally, you would expect that with additional advertising that is being placed on the market, you will get a bigger part of the market share. People will see more of your ads, they will start buying more from you. And since market share is, very delayed metric, maybe doesn't this happen very fast, but when you look into this correlation, you will notice that brand A was the one that, with additional investment in share of voice, did not receive additional market share. It's like one of those situations when the client is coming to you and saying, yeah, you've been running these campaigns for us, but we have no result from them. Okay, so looking at the same data from a little bit perspective, a little different perspective, which you can see here, is that investment into the share of voice also got a positive influence in the share of search. So the more ads that have been put out there, it attracted people's attention. People were going on search engines and looking for your brand, but this not necessarily ended up in becoming a purchase decision. While share of search can predict market share for some brands and categories only a few months in lead time, share of search is a very reactive metric to what's happening now. When they see the ad, they would probably take a phone and go online on that phone and start looking for, or at least make the first connection with the brand. So when modeled against media spend, search volumes are the fast-moving indicator of advertising activities. And this is probably the number one takeaway I want you to have here, that if previously you were looking at those different metrics in public relations that were so popular, share of search is the one that maybe you want to be looking more into now. So how do you measure share of search? And in this next section I will try to explain how it's quantified into numbers. So share of search is a volume of search queries that for a brand in proportion to all the search queries for all the brands in the same industry. In a way, a share of search resembles market share, because you take the part of the pie that you have and compare it to the whole pie itself. But share of search strictly looks at search volume and search engines as a landscape. So this is not in every media that there is there. It's in the media which are the search results. And in this way, share of search is a very important metric for different teams, from brand awareness teams to the performance teams to sales, public relations, and maybe even your HR activities as well. But this is all, in a particular time frame, so you connect the attributes of share of voice to the share of search as well. Now, when you measure share of search, there are two different things that you can measure here. One of that is the classic share of search, which kind of shows, how often your brand was searched comparing to the other brands in your category. But this is also looking at another result, which is search visibility, or something that I previously already described as your discovery view, when people are searching for the items in your category and how do they find you. So I'll broaden the definition to include the brand's reputation on search results page for search query related to what we call a search visibility, which is also tied in the share of search. So you might want to get an example here in this case. And I would like to maybe come back to one of them. Let's say you're looking for a newsletter tool, kind of something to send newsletters, or let's say someone who can track and monitor your brand reputation. Of course, there are different companies that offer the tool, and it can be, let's say, Brand24 represents maybe some social listening platforms and so on and so on. And you have to be there in the search results when people are looking for this platform. So let's say you can be a very good technological startup, but when you're not in the search results, it's hard to estimate that somebody is going to find you there. So with the share of search and SERP visibility, you can actually increase the overall real estate for the given search query. So usually, we look at the SEO results, and we want to be there. You want to have your Google Ads results on top of that SEO pages, and just to take as much of the real estate on Google, and to make sure that the potential customer or stakeholder will click on your search results. And it's not so difficult to calculate a share of search with some simple tools like the ones that Google is providing. So I wanted to look at one very specific to Lithuania industry. We have a very dynamic electricity market here, and this is the search results or search trends from 5 companies operating in the energy sector in Lithuania. And you can see that in the blue color, the Ignitis will get most of the searches, while the other competing companies will get a lot less. While there's also like Perlas Energia, the one that was pretty active until September, and then suddenly the numbers absolutely dropped because of the reputation crisis and the decisions they made. So I've looked at the Google search trends for these numbers, and they give me a nice graph. But how do I translate into something that looks like a graph I can put in my PowerPoint slide? So basically, you can see the Excel sheet or the list of the numbers here, which shows all of the dates and all of the queries connected to every brand that happened on Google Trends. This is also comparing to the most search keywords like Ignitis in this case. And use the simple presentation tools, I can make a graph like this to show what part of Ignitis is having in the share of search for the particular year. But then, this is something that's not something that I can play with. And as represents, we've done a couple changes and included this as a part of the program that you can have, when you are tracking. And in this case, I think it's a company called Revolut, one of the financial startups here coming, from Lithuania or connected to Lithuania, and looking at the other competitors. And you can see this data, how it's representing in our app, comparing to Betterment, Binance, Capital, and all the other companies who are competing with them. So not only are we looking at the current share of search that they own for the particular data collection that we had, but we can look also at the historical data, how this is changing, how the trend is changing, and whether you are, and also what factors influence this change. Also, when we look at the quality of your signal, we look at several additional parameters. For example, the SERP signal, your localization, the diversity of content, and also the hero content that is found on Google search results. So I want to stop here especially on diversity of the content, because if we come back to this PESO model that I discussed in the first part, was that usually when people come and find looking for reviews about your company and your brand, and all they find is your own page, of course, as a company, you will be willing to put as much positive information out there and minimize, or at least not put the negative information out there. So when there is no diversity in the search results, and it's only the product page, people start looking for other pages, like other reviews. So I would like to have, to have a good reputation. I would like to have different sources talking about me hopefully in a positive or a neutral light. That's why we create Wikipedia pages. That's where all your LinkedIn and Twitter accounts come in. That's where your review sites come in. So you get the full scope of search results about your brand and about your product. Also, when we talk about localization, that's another thing which is important. And of course, everybody in Europe, they speak English, and for some of the companies, having an English website is enough. But let's say what happens to a company that's from Lithuania going to Slovenia, or another locality. So having content on the language from the country the person is looking for information is also a very good tool to show your presence in the country and your how you are committed to be a part of that industry. With hero content, which is also important, you want to have once in a while some hero activities that will be talked about. So let's say you're building up the momentum before the hero activity, and there's all the information on the media. Then the Baumgartner jumps from space, after he drank some Red Bull, and then yes, afterwards all the activities that connected to that. So with one hero content, you can create a lot of stories, of preparation and the effect, and then it takes a bigger part of the media, and this is the hero content that eventually you might want to see in your search results as well, especially if that gets shared a lot and then commented a lot, and also story being retold in the other on the other platforms. So for that we have this is one of the views from the tool, that we have the different parts of the keywords and also the news category, how the information that you place out there is represented in the search results with all the statistics, your page rank, your media rank, the review score, the sentiment of that, your RSI index, and also the links to the particular pages or websites that talk about your brand. And this is mostly media sites, so something that you would buy from media monitoring tool, but only this is much better, because this is not only the noise that has been sent, and everything that has a tag new will be the new content that just recently popped up in the public media. So what Represents tool does is also changes. You don't have to buy the media monitoring anymore. With all the reputation and tracking, you have the media monitoring included in the tool as well. So what I want to ask you here in this case is, as a brand manager or an agency for a brand, how can you use the share of search as a part of your opportunities for growth? How can you incorporate share of search into the brand measurement, and how can you stay ahead with this data, ahead of the competitors, just to understanding how people reactively search for your brand after they see the information that you place out there. And I want to give you a little bit of the strategy, although next Wednesday we're going to have another training, will be the tips and tricks, and also what to do when you have a bad reputation. How do you change it? And in a lot of situations, people say, it's hard to do that. These are very trust sources. Believe me, this is all possible with little dedication. And so I want to promote the next event in a week from now. So hopefully you will find the time to come back. But first of all, what you can do to improve your reputation. Your own site, adapt your own site to be discovered in the main reputation categories. Raise the domain authority. Upgrade this existed content and programming, and look at the important queries that people are looking for, and add this as a part of the content for your website. That's some quick wins that you can have, and these quicks can be social media, your Wikipedia, your fixing of misleading information, taking control of some of the comments, And just looking at what is happening on the search results about your brand and going into those pages and see what's my strategy with the SERP, what I can do to improve this result here. And even if it's a bad one, maybe can I change it to neutral? If it's a website that has an article about me which is not in a positive light, maybe I should put a new article, which are news that are interesting because it's new. So you don't want to leave the old article staying there. As I also mentioned in the beginning, you want to control the narrative. Plan which content should be found online and take action to influence the news and partners and stakeholders, and purchase maybe the content if that's needed. Create relationships with journalists, because you want to be in control of the narrative about your brand. And when you plan campaigns, you already know what's the signal that's placed there, what the signal is for the people to find you. So you want to integrate your online reputation to your communication activities and campaigns and create this noise meaningfully, so that it delivers an impact and raise online interest and let people discover the signals that you are leading to when they search for you on search engines. I want to encourage you, it's running away. I want to encourage you to not stop here, to come and talk to us, to register for a demo and let us show you how Represent's app is performing and the power of the algorithm beneath it, and how, especially with the use of artificial intelligence and text recognition, we can do the analysis much more quicker than a human could do. So come talk to us and let me introduce you to the team of very dedicated people here at Represent who are delivering this tool that will change your business forever. And I think the whole business of public relationships as well. We have an agency program that we want to invite you to become a part of. Of course, we wanted to go to the markets and to the clients that are already working with agencies. So let us be your partner in delivering the new strategies of where you can improve your public relations and advertising activities. As a director for customer success, I am very much dedicated to it, and it's my promise that I will be the person who will take you along the way to show you how the meaningful results our tool can deliver. And since we are relatively new, every client is very important to us. So please stay after the demo and go to the website and book a free demo after this show, and come back to us next Wednesday to talk about how you can influence the bad reputation and change it to neutral or maybe good. Thank you very much, and see you again soon. I'll leave the slide with the contacts on the screen, but you can always go to repsense.io and find a contact form, fill it out, and we'll contact you shortly. Thank you very much for spending this afternoon with me. This is me, Domas, and hopefully we'll see you again soon and in person. Have a nice day.